Hi, Steve Kaufman here. Just gonna move this guy out of the way here. Yeah, today I would like some input. I have these discussions. I get some reaction from people, which I appreciate. But I would like some feedback here. I'm not sure if I'm right about this, and I would like to have a discussion. So I'm starting the discussion, and it's about learning styles. And I often hear people say that some people are auditory or oral, AURAL, learners. Some people are visual learners. Some people are kinetic, meaning that they have to do something, they have to move in order to learn. And my view, and this is something that teachers like to talk about because, again, it makes their job, it adds an element of, I think, sophistication to teaching. I believe that teaching is all about the enthusiasm that the teacher can impart to the learner, period. And so I've never really thought that this issue of learning styles was very important. I happen to believe, but I have no scientific really proof of this, but I think we all learn the same way. I think that our brains more or less learn the same way. I think our brains learn by a process of observing stimulus, experiencing things, and gradually forming rules, recognizing certain patterns. That's why we can learn languages. I don't believe for a minute, as Chomsky said, that we have a universal grammar. I think we have a universal ability to recognize patterns in anything that we learn. And I think that's pretty common to all people. And that the bigger differences have to do with our attitude, with the extent to which we're connected to what we're trying to learn. So getting back to the issue of language learning, I think that once we get to a mode of learning where most of the initiative is with the learner. So if the learner, and I think the differences come up more in terms of what we like to do rather than how the brain learns. Some people like poetry. I don't like poetry. A lot of teachers like to teach poetry. Some people prefer to listen. I love listening. I think listening is very effective for language learning. It's high resonance to me. The language, the whole feel, the rhythm, the patterns stick better when I listen a lot. Listening also has the advantage that I can do it while doing other things. But some people can't do that. Some people don't like to do that. Some people like to read. I also like to read. Some people like to spend a lot of time reviewing words and phrases in various forms. They have these spaced repetition systems and they review their words. I don't like doing that so much. I'll do it to some extent. It is effective. It's probably a good thing for me to do. I don't like doing it, so I don't do it. I don't like being in a group where we all stand up and sing together, dance together, or play act together, or any of these kinds of class participation exercise. I don't like being in a classroom where I'm distracted by 20 other learners, 3/4 of whom are not interested very much in learning. But some people like being. So there are likes and dislikes. But I don't really think there are differences in learning. Well, there are differences in styles that are influenced by what we like to do, but not in terms of the kind of learner we are, that I can only learn this way. I don't believe that. So I'm sure I'll get a lot of criticism for saying that. But even if it is true, even if the distinction between a learning style and what we like to do, if that's, maybe there's not a big difference there. But the problem is removed once we give the learner more choice in what to do. As long as it's the teacher who says, "Oh, you are this kind of a learner. I'm going to divide my class into 3 different groups: the auditory learners, the visual learners, and the kinetic learners, and I'll teach them all differently. But I'm going to teach them poetry." So the problem is that you're trying to teach them poetry. If language were taught using poetry, I would never learn a language. Never. I have no interest in poetry, not in English and not in any other language. I do like conversations with people. I should say that the new Russian podcast that we've started with Anna and Andrei are tremendous. Casual, excellent sound quality, very good conversations. I love it. I listen to it. I just suck up the rhythm, the feel, the natural sense of the language. Far preferable for language learning to poetry. And I have tried with poetry, but I don't like poetry. Others do. That's great. So, if we allow more freedom for the learner to choose how the learner is going to engage with the language, more listening. Some people like watching movies. I don't. I mean, I like watching movies, but I don't think it's an effective way to learn the language. So if I'm motivated to learn, to acquire words, I won't watch movies. If I'm motivated to relax and enjoy and get stimulated and get turned on to the language, I'll watch a movie. It's fine. So I just like some feedback on that. How important do you think learning styles are? And since I've got some time here before my video runs out, I'll talk about another subject that's come up. I've been on this listserv with teachers talking about how technology can be introduced to the classroom, and there's a lot of talk about Twitter and a lot of talk about using text messaging and phones. And the argument there is that most kids don't like to even write emails anymore because it takes too long. They like to send little text messages back and forth. And Twitter is great because it's all in these little short 140 character messages. And so that Twitter is held up as a great opportunity for collaboration with other people and for people to express themselves in the language they're learning. And I don't see it now. I'm not a teenager. But my feeling with language learning, and it gets back to this question of language styles, and I'm quite prepared to accept that other people feel differently, but when I learn a language, I start out with small snippets, 4 lines, 6 lines, 30 seconds, and I have to go to the 1 minute, and then the 5 minute, and then the 10 minute, and then the 20 minute, and eventually to a book. If I'm always dealing with short snippets, I never really get going in the language. And the first real book I read in a language is like climbing Mount Everest. It's a major achievement. And I think that we should encourage people, whether they're wanting to become better at their own language or learning another language, to go to spend more time. Don't be distracted. Or little messages coming in, little Twitter messages coming in, sending little messages. So you write 2 or 3 Twitter messages in Russian a day. To me, that's not as valuable as spending an hour listening to very interesting conversation in Russian. So I still feel Twitter is a distraction. Email or forums, but even there, forums are okay. Forums are okay, and I must say that I'm not normally inclined to write in the language that I'm learning, but where we have our forums at Link, if they're carrying on in Russian or whatever, I'll get on there. That motivates me to write something. And nowadays I can, because we have a spell checker built right in, that really helps. I don't have to worry about spelling mistakes and so forth. So yeah, writing I guess is a good thing, but at least a paragraph or 2. And what I read, I want to read the longer. When I get on, if I read a forum, the one-liners in Russian, I don't even bother reading them. I want to get a meaty paragraph or something and work my way through that. So again, maybe I am saying that there are learning styles. So there probably are learning styles, but I don't think the brain learns fundamentally differently. I think there are people like different things. Some people like poetry. Some people like music. Some people learn from music. But I think that if I liked learning from music, I probably could. So all I'm saying is I think the brain learns essentially the same way, but we have different tastes. And I think that where we are headed with more e-learning or with more internet-based learning is allowing learners more freedom to learn the way they like to learn, and so that it becomes less of an issue for teachers to worry about. It's more a matter of making sure that there is enough there for everybody's tastes and enough support and encouragement so that the learners will take advantage of this stuff. So there you have it. I would very much appreciate hearing back. Thank you.